Did you know that in 2025, there are entire countries openly pushing back against American influence? That's right. Countries that have long welcomed American tourists, expats, and even Hollywood films are now saying, enough is enough. In fact, there's been a surprising rise in anti-American sentiment around the globe, and it's not just about politics or international relations. No, it's something much deeper. It's about culture, values, and identity. Imagine walking into a cafe in Paris only to hear locals complaining about American chains taking over their streets. Picture a small town in Italy where locals are growing frustrated as the American tourist rush drives up prices and changes the character of their cities. And in places like Japan and Mexico, American culture is so pervasive that many feel it's eroding their traditional ways of life. But why is this happening now in 2025? Why are countries that once embraced American culture now pushing back so fiercely? What changed? Could it be that the world has finally hit its breaking point with the overwhelming presence of American values? Or is there more to it than just cultural clashes? In the next few minutes, you'll uncover which 10 countries are most frustrated with Americans, why they're pushing back, and what it means for the future of global relationships. Trust me, some of these countries may surprise you, and the reasons behind their frustration might be even more shocking. Stick around because you don't want to miss this. Number 1. France. Ah, France, the land of romance, croissants, and, of course, the Eiffel Tower. For decades, France has been one of the top destinations for Americans, whether for a chic vacation in Paris or a summer escape to the French Riviera. However, in 2025, the French are starting to feel a bit more unimpressed by the constant flood of American influence. It's not just about the tourists, although they're certainly part of the equation. In fact, French locals have voiced their growing frustrations over the rising dominance of American culture in their daily lives. From the streets of Paris to the vineyards of Bordeaux, American fast food chains are becoming just as common as local bistros, with McDonald's, Starbucks, and even Chipotle now vying for space in cities once known for their culinary excellence. While these chains bring convenience, many locals argue they threaten the essence of France's gastronomic heritage. Then there's Hollywood, the ever-present shadow of American movies and TV shows. It's no secret that the US film industry has had a massive impact on global entertainment, but many in France are beginning to feel that French cinema is being overshadowed by endless blockbusters and franchise films. In fact, recent studies have shown that French audiences are watching fewer local films as they're consumed by the global appeal of US-made content. But it's not just about pop culture, it's also about cultural identity. There's a growing sense that France's rich history and traditions are being diluted in the face of American consumerism. But what truly stings for the French is how American tourists have started to behave. Many locals have reported a shift in how Americans interact with French culture. Loud, entitled, and often unaware of local customs, some tourists have left a sour taste in the mouths of the very people who once greeted them with open arms. So, what's the French response to all this? It's a blend of frustration and resistance. Locals are taking steps to preserve their heritage, from supporting independent restaurants to championing local art. France isn't just resisting the American wave, it's pushing back with pride. Number 2. Italy. Italy, the country of pasta, art, and history, has long been a dream destination for travelers, especially Americans. From the ancient ruins of Rome to the rolling hills of Tuscany, Italy has always been one of the most iconic and welcoming countries in Europe. But by 2025, something has shifted. Many Italians are now feeling that their beloved country is becoming too Americanized and overrun by tourists. The first issue? Tourism. Italy is one of the most popular destinations for Americans, with millions flocking to cities like Rome, Venice, and Florence every year. And while tourism is a major part of the economy, the sheer volume of visitors has reached a breaking point. Streets that were once lined with quaint, family-owned trattorias are now dominated by chain restaurants, and the once tranquil canals of Venice are now packed with American tourists snapping selfies in every corner. For many Italians, it's not just about the tourists themselves, it's the impact they have on local life. Housing prices in popular cities have skyrocketed, pushing out locals who can no longer afford to live near their own workplaces. Gentrification is a real problem, with entire neighborhoods being transformed to cater to foreign visitors. It's not uncommon to see shops that cater exclusively to tourists, offering overpriced souvenirs and American snacks instead of traditional Italian products. The second issue? Cultural changes. Italians are noticing a shift in the local lifestyle. American pop culture has long been a part of Italy, but now it seems to be pushing Italian traditions aside. More and more, Italians are seeing their heritage being replaced by American trends, from the dominance of American coffee chains to the widespread popularity of fast food. The local food culture is starting to feel like a shadow of its former self. Italians are proud of their culture and they are starting to fight back. Locals are embracing the rise of slow tourism, encouraging visitors to explore Italy at a slower, more sustainable pace, and supporting locally owned businesses that reflect authentic Italian values. In short, Italy isn't rejecting all things American, but they are becoming more vocal about the balance they want to strike. Number 3. Japan. Japan has long had a fascinating relationship with American culture. After World War II, U.S. influence helped shape the modern Japan we know today. From Hollywood movies to American brands, Japan embraced many aspects of American life. But by 2025, the tides are beginning to turn, and Japan's younger generations are growing wary of the overwhelming presence of U.S. culture in their country. One major area of concern is consumerism. While American products and brands, think Nike, Coca-Cola, and McDonald's, have long been popular, some Japanese citizens are now feeling like their local businesses and traditions are being left behind. The streets of Tokyo and Osaka are filled with Western fast food chains and shopping malls packed with American brands, and locals are starting to feel that their country's unique culture is being slowly replaced. The shift in youth culture is especially noticeable. Japan's younger generation has long admired American music, fashion, and lifestyle, but now there's a growing sense of discomfort. Many young people are pushing back against the idea of being too westernized, and there's a noticeable rise in local pride and a renewed interest in preserving traditional Japanese values, from kimono-wearing ceremonies to tea rituals. Another factor driving this change is the rise of globalization. While it has brought great benefits, it's also made the world feel smaller, and in the process, Japan's unique cultural identity has come under pressure. American movies and TV shows dominate Japanese screens, and American fashion trends often eclipse traditional styles. This has caused some people to question whether their culture is being lost to global uniformity. For Japan, it's about finding balance, honoring the best aspects of American culture while staying true to their own traditions. But as 2025 progresses, the push for a more distinctly Japanese identity is only growing stronger. If you've made it this far, we really appreciate you taking the time to explore this topic with us. Now, we want to hear from you. What do you think about the rise of anti-American sentiment in these countries? Have you experienced it firsthand? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We put a lot of effort into crafting this video, and your feedback means the world to us. And hey, if you enjoyed the video, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's just one click, and it helps us bring you more deep dives into global culture. Thanks for watching. Number 4. Spain. Spain, with its beautiful beaches, vibrant cities, and rich cultural heritage, has always been a popular destination for American expats and tourists. But by 2025, many Spaniards are starting to feel that their country is being overtaken by an influx of Americans, and not in the way they'd hoped. For one, rising housing costs are becoming a serious problem, especially in cities like Barcelona and Madrid, where many American expats are settling down. American buyers and renters are driving up property prices, making it harder for locals to afford homes in their own neighborhoods. What used to be quiet, authentic Spanish barrios are now becoming more commercialized and tailored to the American lifestyle, complete with English-speaking cafes, American grocery stores, and Western-style bars. But the issue isn't just economic. There's also a growing frustration with the cultural clash that many Spaniards are witnessing. American culture, with its fast-paced lifestyle, consumerism, and demand for convenience, can sometimes clash with the more laid-back, family-oriented values that define Spanish life. Locals are noticing a shift in their city dynamics, with American expatriates often demanding Western-style services and adjusting their surroundings to be more familiar, often to the detriment of local traditions. Moreover, many Spaniards have started to express concerns over the influence of U.S. politics. As the U.S. continues to assert its political influence globally, some Spaniards are questioning whether the American way of life is undermining the cultural and political autonomy they've fought to preserve over the years. But Spaniards aren't standing by idly. Local movements are now pushing for a return to their roots, embracing traditional Spanish businesses supporting local culture and promoting policies to preserve their unique way of life. While Spain remains an incredibly diverse country, the rise of expat-driven commercialism is starting to feel like it's going too far. Number 5. Mexico. Mexico has always been a popular destination for Americans, whether it's for vacationing along the stunning coasts of Cancun or settling down in the vibrant heart of Mexico City. The proximity and shared border have made this cultural exchange inevitable. But by 2025, many Mexicans are growing increasingly frustrated with the influence of American culture spreading throughout their country. One of the biggest challenges is American businesses flooding the Mexican market. From fast food chains like Taco Bell, which many locals find ironically amusing, to American tech companies dominating the scene, it seems that every corner of Mexico has been touched by U.S. commercial interests. While many view this as a sign of economic opportunity, for others, it's become a symbol of cultural erosion. The once traditional taquerias are now competing with American chains that serve fast food at a fraction of the price. Another issue facing Mexico is the rise of American expatriates moving into once hidden gems like Lake Chapala and San Miguel de Allende. While some American settlers bring new wealth and businesses to these areas, many Mexicans argue that this influx of foreigners is leading to skyrocketing living costs and gentrification. In cities and towns that once had a distinctly Mexican feel, American expatriates are often accused of reshaping local communities to reflect their own desires and lifestyles. This outsider influence is slowly changing the social fabric of areas that were historically seen as quintessentially Mexican. What's more, American politics have also made their way into the conversation. Many Mexicans are now questioning the impact of U.S. foreign policies on their own lives, especially as the relationship between the two countries becomes increasingly strained. From immigration issues to trade policies, many are feeling that the U.S. influence is more of a burden than a blessing. While Mexico has always been a place of resilience, these growing concerns are prompting a push to preserve Mexican culture, identity, and sovereignty. The people of Mexico are calling for balance, asking for American influence to be respectful rather than overpowering. If this surprised you or sparked your curiosity, we want to hear from you. What do you think about the changes happening in these countries? Do you agree with their frustrations, or do you have a different perspective? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. We've worked hard to bring you this insightful video, and your feedback fuels us to keep creating. Don't forget to hit subscribe, it's just one click, and you'll never miss our next deep dive into global issues and cultures. Thanks for being part of our community. Number 6. Australia. Australia has long been a close ally and partner to the United States, but by 2025 a noticeable shift is taking place. While many Australians still love American movies, technology, and food, the tide of Americanization has begun to cause frustration among locals. The problem? American culture is often seen as overpowering Australia's own identity, with many Australians starting to push back against the influx of American businesses, customs, and political influence. One of the most visible signs of this shift is the rise of American fast food chains across the country. Once a novelty, these chains are now ubiquitous. McDonald's, KFC, and Subway are everywhere, often replacing local favorites and leading to a loss of traditional Aussie food culture. Australians are finding it harder to find locally owned and operated cafes or eateries as global brands dominate the scene. Some Aussies have started pushing for a return to authentic Australian food and local businesses that reflect their own culture and values. Even in the realm of entertainment, American movies and TV shows continue to dominate Australian screens. The influence of Hollywood is undeniable, but many Australians have started to voice concerns that their own storytelling traditions are being sidelined in favor of blockbuster films and TV series from the U.S. There's a growing call to support local film industries and embrace homegrown talent rather than relying too heavily on what's coming out of Hollywood. Moreover, politically, Australians have been growing increasingly wary of American foreign policy and the influence the U.S. has in their domestic affairs. Whether it's in matters of climate change, trade, or defense, Australians are beginning to question whether they're sacrificing their sovereignty in favor of pleasing a larger, more powerful ally. The underlying message here is clear. Australians love the U.S., but they also want to preserve what makes Australia unique. The challenge will be finding that delicate balance between embracing global trends and staying true to their own identity. Number 7. Thailand. Thailand has long been a top destination for tourists. especially Americans seeking beautiful beaches, rich history, and vibrant culture. However, by 2025, a significant shift is happening. Americans are still flocking to Thailand in droves, but locals are growing weary of the negative impacts this mass tourism is having on their country's culture and environment. One of the biggest concerns for Thailand is overtourism, particularly in places like Phuket, Chiang Mai, and Bangkok. These cities, once peaceful and steeped in local tradition, are now packed with American tourists, contributing to the loss of authenticity and the over-commercialization of Thai culture. As more tourists flood the streets, local businesses are being pushed out, replaced by chain restaurants and tourist traps designed to cater to Western tastes. For example, in many areas, it's now easier to find American fast food chains and Western-style cafes than traditional Thai eateries. The environmental impact is also a growing concern. Thailand's famous beaches are being ravaged by over-tourism, with plastic waste from Western tourists becoming a significant problem. Locals have reported seeing the beauty of Thailand's natural landscapes slowly being destroyed by the sheer number of visitors, many of whom are unaware of or indifferent to the environmental damage they're causing. Another issue is the growing sense that American tourists are coming to Thailand with a sense of entitlement. Many locals report that American travelers often expect the same services and conveniences they would find back home, without respecting the cultural nuances or local customs of the Thai people. This sense of cultural clash has caused tension in several tourist-heavy areas, where locals are feeling more like service providers than hosts. Despite these issues, Thailand is not abandoning its tourism industry. It's too important to the economy. But in 2025, there is a strong push for sustainable tourism, with calls for American tourists to be more respectful and mindful of their impact on the local culture and environment. Number 8. Portugal. Lisbon, the capital of Portugal, has always been known for its rich history, charming neighborhoods, and traditional Portuguese culture. In recent years, however, there's been a noticeable transformation, one that many locals feel is being driven by the growing presence of American tourists and expats. By 2025, Portugal's beautiful capital is facing a shift in its identity, and much of that change is due to the rising tide of American influence. One of the most visible signs of this transformation is the real estate market. As more Americans move to Lisbon, property prices have risen dramatically. In areas like Alfama and Barro Alto, which were once affordable for locals, longtime residents are being priced out by a wave of American expats looking for a more affordable lifestyle in Europe. Airbnb rentals are also a contributing factor, as tourists and expats increasingly snap up properties, leaving fewer places for the city's residents to live. This has led to the rise of gentrification, where the cultural fabric of the neighborhoods is being replaced by an influx of American-owned businesses catering to expats and tourists. Another issue for Lisbon is the impact of American-style consumerism. As the city becomes more Americanized, you'll find American fast food chains and high-end U.S. brands increasingly popping up, replacing traditional Portuguese cafes and shops. Many locals worry that this shift is eroding the essence of Lisbon's local culture, turning the city into a kind of globalized playground that lacks the charm and uniqueness it once had. Even in the realm of politics, some Portuguese citizens are questioning the growing influence of U.S. policies in their country's affairs. American ideals are being championed more than ever, and some feel this is overshadowing Portugal's own values and traditions. There's a growing desire for Portugal to preserve its identity and culture amidst this influx of Americanization. However, despite these challenges, many Lisbon locals still welcome the benefits that American tourism and expat communities bring, such as economic growth and international exposure. The key now is finding a balance between embracing modernity and preserving the essence of Portuguese culture. Number 9. Brazil. Brazil, with its vibrant culture and stunning landscapes, has always attracted visitors from around the world, including a significant number of Americans. However, in recent years, tensions have started to build between the local population and American tourists, especially as the country continues to face challenges brought on by over-tourism and cultural imposition. One of the main reasons Brazilians are growing tired of Americans is the Americanization of their culture. The rise of fast food chains, familiar brands, and even American pop culture has left some locals feeling that Brazil's rich and diverse traditions are being eroded. In cities like Rio de Janeiro and São Paulo, it's not unusual to see American-style shopping malls, franchise restaurants, and even English-speaking cafes replacing local gems. Many Brazilians feel that this shift is undermining their unique identity and pushing out homegrown businesses. The influx of American influence doesn't just affect the food scene, it's also seen in media and entertainment, where Hollywood movies and TV shows dominate cinemas, often at the expense of local Brazilian films. Cultural arrogance is another sore spot. Many Americans traveling through Brazil, particularly those who are less familiar with the country's language and traditions, can unintentionally come across as dismissive of Brazilian customs. From assuming that everyone speaks English to disregarding local dining etiquettes or political nuances, this perceived arrogance can lead to frustration among the local population. Some visitors treat Brazil like a playground, expecting the same level of luxury and convenience they're used to at home, rather than embracing the local lifestyle, which can be quite different from the American norm. If you're planning to visit Brazil, consider stepping back from the American mindset and embracing the country's dynamic culture. Get involved in local traditions like samba, capoeira, and carnival, and make an effort to learn some Portuguese. Also, take time to support local businesses instead of always seeking out familiar chains. This not only helps the local economy but also encourages cultural exchange in a more meaningful way. By showing respect for Brazil's culture and its rich heritage, you'll not only gain a more authentic travel experience, but you'll also contribute to fostering a positive relationship between Americans and Brazilians. Number 10. Iceland. Iceland, with its breathtaking landscapes, geothermal hot springs, and otherworldly beauty, has rapidly grown into a must-see destination for travelers worldwide, particularly Americans. With its majestic glaciers, volcanic craters, and northern lights, it was once a peaceful, untouched haven. However, by 2025, Iceland has found itself grappling with the pressures of overtourism, primarily driven by the influx of American visitors. In the past decade, the number of tourists visiting Iceland has skyrocketed, with American tourists making up a significant portion of this increase. The country's small population, around 360,000 people, is being overwhelmed by the sheer number of visitors, especially during the summer months when the country sees unprecedented crowds. This has led to congestion in once quiet areas, with places like the Blue Lagoon and the Golden Circle becoming packed with tourists. While tourism is an important source of income, the massive increase in foot traffic is beginning to strain the country's infrastructure. The environmental toll of this tourism boom is perhaps the most alarming. Iceland's pristine environment, home to delicate ecosystems, rare wildlife, and vast natural wonders, is under threat. Foot traffic around the Geysir geothermal area and around Thingvellir National Park is causing erosion and damaging fragile habitats. The waste produced by these tourists, combined with the increase in carbon emissions from more flights and transportation, is leaving a noticeable impact on the landscape. Iceland's government and locals are being forced to figure out how to preserve this delicate environment while still welcoming tourists. Another issue is the local economy. While tourism brings jobs and revenue, the country's dependence on it has created a boom and bust cycle. Prices for everything from accommodation to food have risen sharply, making it increasingly difficult for locals to afford everyday goods and services. Many have expressed frustration that the benefits of tourism are not equally distributed, as a lot of the wealth generated flows into foreign-owned businesses or international chains. As the future of Iceland's tourism hangs in the balance, the country faces a difficult decision: how to protect its precious landscapes and preserve its unique identity while continuing to attract tourists from around the globe. As we've seen throughout this video, the influence of American culture is far-reaching, and it's creating both excitement and tension across the globe. From France to Japan, Australia to Italy, people are facing complex challenges as they try to balance their unique identities with the growing presence of American customs, brands, and tourists. It's a fascinating, yet sometimes painful evolution. Cultural preservation versus globalization. It's a struggle many countries are grappling with in 2025. These shifts are not just about politics or economics. They touch the very essence of what makes each country unique. And while embracing change is inevitable, it's important to ask ourselves, at what cost does progress come? We've put in a lot of effort, time, and passion into creating this video, researching, writing, and ensuring every detail is covered to bring you this insightful content isn't easy. We're dedicated to giving you the best, and we pour our heart into every single video we make. So if you believe in what we're doing, and if you value thoughtful, hard-hitting content like this, we need your support. It's just one click to subscribe, but it makes a world of difference to us. When you hit subscribe, you're not just supporting a channel, you're supporting a community that cares about bringing you real stories that matter. Your subscription means we can keep making these hard-to-make videos and bring more meaningful, eye-opening content to your screen. So please take a moment to subscribe. It's one small click for you, but a huge step for us. We thank you for being part of our journey. You're what makes this possible.